Good morning, Lake Braddock. Today is Wednesday, December 2nd, and it is Gold Even Day.
Welcome to the Morning Brews November monthly show. This month, we will be covering a variety of subjects attaining to Lake Braddock students. Let's get started.
Before we begin, please pause for the moment of silence.
Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
FCPS students want to go back to school. Some classes have already started their processes, while some have canceled their schedules of going back. Let's peel back the onion and see how Lake Braddock's back-to-school plans are going.
Northern Virginia students are ready to go back to school. Learning is more effective at school than online, and the first stages of getting back to school are in process. A small number of teachers and students returned to school in November. The Morning Brew wanted to know what their experiences were returning to Lake Braddock.
I am excited to be in person with some of my students. As a teacher, I think one of the most fun parts of our job is being with the students and interacting with them. And I feel that I'm able to get to know them better when we're in person rather than online. So I am very excited about that. As a teacher, having a little less than half of my students in the classroom and more than half online is very different than I've ever been used to, because I'm used to all of the students being in one space together. So it is different, but I think that we're doing what we can to learn how to interact with students in both platforms and at the same time. And I know we appreciate when the students give us feedback and help us understand from their perspective what works for them.
You get to interact with people, and you don't sit behind a computer desk all day bored.
Yep.
You get to talk and
You can do that.
see people. It's more dead around the school. There's less people around, so you don't really get to hang out with your friends on certain days. The school chooses who comes in and who doesn't, so you don't really get to interact with your friends and stuff.
So I always appreciate a challenge. I think honestly teaching has become more difficult in this setting. It is very hard to teach students through the computer, and even being in person with some of them, it is difficult to communicate with both in-person and online students and collaborate with both, because I'm used to being with everyone in one room. Even though it's difficult because it's new, and we're continuing to learn and figure out how this works for teachers, just as students are figuring out how to be successful with school online. So I'm hoping that it gets easier and continues to get better, but it's certainly been a challenge.
We'd like to see you all back to school soon with the Morning Brew.
Life during the pandemic is far from normal. Student athletes from all over FCPS are having their season and practices affected due to safety measures and schedule changes. Let's take a look at life during the pandemic for these athletes and coaches.
All sports have been affected by safety protocols due to COVID-19. Let's learn more from some players and coaches.
Well, every player has to go through a health screening where they get their temperature taken. They answer 5 or 6 health screening questions. They have to be in their car in a mask. They have to arrive with their own water. We're not allowed to provide them water. And if they pass the health screening, then they come up to the field. We have to maintain social distancing throughout the workout as best we can. Anytime we can't maintain that, they got to keep their mask on. So when you're exercising heavily, it's definitely tough with the mask on. Just about every aspect of the season is going to be affected. We probably won't be able to have team meals, no group gatherings outside of the actual practice and games. Transportation will be different. We'll be limited to how many people can ride the buses. How we do practices will be different. How different, we don't really know yet because we haven't been given the guidelines. I would imagine it's going to be a lot less people together, groupings and stuff like that. But again, is likely when you don't have your helmet on, you have to have a mask on. The sidelines will be spread out, so there'll be a bigger box for the players to stand in during games so that they can spread out. There's no handshakes after the game. There's no coin toss for the players, so they're doing everything they can to limit how much contact they have with one another. And then if there's a positive COVID test, we really don't know what the protocol is going to be. It could be anywhere from 10 days to 2 or 3 weeks. It could be the whole program. We really don't know. We're just taking it as it comes.
Yes, I think COVID will definitely negatively impact the conditioning for the football team. I think it'll do it for any sport, but the football team definitely, just us not having to be able to have our full off-season workouts. But I think everyone else that we're going to play has kind of been in the same boat as us. So I think it's just how much we make of the situation, which I think we've done a pretty good job. So we should be good. But yeah, no, definitely COVID has negatively impacted our conditioning and our off-season training and workouts. I'd say the team's biggest goal this year is to win the state championship. Something that I definitely think we're capable of doing.
What are some of the limitations during practices because of COVID?
Some of the limitations for track and field practice is we have to stay 6 feet apart, and we have to wear masks while we warm up.
Yep. We also have to go in different groups because we can't be near each other, especially when we're stretching. And we also can't use hurdles for some reason.
How have the limitations held you back?
Some of the limitations that are, I wasn't able to participate in nationals.
What are your goals for this season?
My goals for this season is to beat the school record for the pentathlon and long jump.
And my goals are to place in the top 3 and go to districts and then to regionals.
We all hope to be back on the field or on the court as soon as possible. This is the Lake Braddock Morning Brew signing off.
With COVID-19 and online school, students across the country have been faced with extra stress, which can lead to mental health struggles. Let's check out how students at Lake Braddock have been doing.
The COVID-19 pandemic has created a huge impact on many students' mental health, as stress levels are rising and every day feels the same.
COVID has affected my stress levels and happiness in a number of ways. So sometimes I'm really happy to be inside, like at the beginning of quarantine. And when school started, school and stress, my stress was like here and school's like here.
With stress from school on top of her stress from COVID, Madison says it is difficult for her to concentrate in class. Sophomore Cameron Owens says she feels the same.
With COVID and distance learning, I find it really difficult to concentrate during class. You have a lot of outside distractions, especially your phone, that kind of make it easy to wander off and not pay attention during class.
We spoke with Miss Naughton, a high school counselor at Lake Braddock, about what teachers and students can do to improve mental health.
How can teachers help their kids stay mentally healthy?
I think that we're working on a couple different angles with teachers and helping students to stay mentally healthy. One of the things that we're working on is trying to balance the workload. So I think teachers are starting to explore that it is different to the same assignments in a virtual world. That the people who are being most successful with students are still prioritizing 5 to 10 minutes where there is just time to chat. There's just time to talk with kids and for kids to talk back and engage in conversations that have nothing to do at the time with the curriculum. So obviously, because there is so much time spent on the screen that's necessary for school, the best thing I can think of is when people have free time or have extra time is to be off screens, including phones as much as possible, off screens, and doing something active. And active can be anything from, dancing to working out to yoga to walking the dog to just walking, socially distanced with a friend or with family members.
I find myself going on long runs or working on my stick work for field hockey and lacrosse. I also like to color as I find it to be a great distressor.
I've been able to keep busy with COVID restrictions by me and my friend Michaela. We did a school supply drive, and that's one thing that I can be really busy over the summer and at the beginning of quarantine because we've been talking about it for a while.
No matter your situation, make sure to stay positive and safe as we're all trying to get used to this new style of learning. This is Yasmin, Cameron, Lauren, and Olivia signing off for the Morning Brew.
Even during a pandemic, the show must go on. This year, the Lake Braddock Theater is performing A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Here's how they are safely doing this.
Due to COVID-19, live theater is almost impossible. However, through a combination of filming scenes in person and using online platforms, the Lake Braddock Theater has found a way to perform their show, A Midsummer Night's Dream, safely.
We are doing a majority of the filming in person. However, with the exception of 2 or 3 scenes that make more sense to do over Zoom due to the direction that we're going within the show. Our theater teacher has gotten in contact with administration, and we have been given permission to use our black box theater for recording. And so we're running people in and out of there.
Actors come in one at a time to film their scenes. Social distancing rules are in place, and masks are worn by everyone, except the actors while they do their makeup or record their lines.
Me and our theater teacher are recording it. He has an outside party doing the film editing. The thing that I'll miss the most, I'm not sure about everyone else, but I will definitely miss doing the technical aspects. For instance, our set designs. Normally we build these really big sets and we do all that thing, but we can't do that. So instead we're building smaller bite-sized backdrops. For the actors, we've already done a day where people pick up their makeup and stuff. And for costumes specifically, I think we are gonna keep those there and have people change when they get to the school. Yeah, no, this is not what I envisioned my senior year to look like for sure, but no, it's definitely not ideal, but we all love doing theater, every one of us, and so it allows us to have the chance to at least do something while we can't be on stage and work in person and really have that sense of community that we normally have. We can still create something as a company, which is better than nothing. No, but it's fun. It's fun.
For the Morning Brew, this is Ellen, McKenna, and Lilia, signing off.
From March to November, students have had a hard time staying connected. Let's dive into how students have been keeping in touch during this pandemic.
Empty tables, silent classrooms, dusty lockers, and locked doors. These are just a few of the sights that become part of the everydayness at Lake Braddock Secondary School. It feels like almost yesterday that these hallways were overflowing with students making their way to lunch. The usual sight, packs of students loitering and socializing at the front entrance. What always looked to me as a clear rejection of the busy, fast-paced lifestyle that encompasses being a student here is one of the sights that I will miss. The parking lot at the front of the building, which always seems to have a scarce number of open spots, now looks like an empty, abandoned lot. The courtyard, a place where students would go at the end of the day to meet their pals and strike up casual conversation, is now haunted by the presence of shady chairs and rusted tables, which serve as a reminder of the community that once frequented there. So, where is everyone? What happened and how did what was the heart of 3,112 students' social lives come to resemble a ghost town overnight?
And now to the coronavirus, we are seeing some really long lines once again forming.
As a record number of Americans remain hospitalized,
some experts predict we could see upwards of 400,000 new infections a day.
In the midst of spring 2020, 16 COVID cases quickly became 10,000. Suddenly, we were amid a countrywide lockdown. Soon enough, America found itself rethinking and reassessing the risks of what were once the routine of the American way. To most, the pandemic felt like something we were not prepared for at all. It changed how we learn, how we gather and communicate with each other, how we dress, and how we behave around others. It changed our lifestyles, affected every one of us in one way or another, for the better or for the worse. But just like that one quote says, never underestimate the ability of the human animal to adapt to its environment. So, where did we go when colleges, government offices, supermarkets, restaurants, and schools were closed to the public? Well, we moved to the network. Physics lessons uploaded to YouTube.
Energy equals
Hello and good morning. Welcome to Cornerstone Church. I'm so glad
Religious gatherings live streamed to Facebook and classes being held on video conferences online. We had to migrate a large part of our lives to the internet. For a lot of students in the Lake Braddock community, this meant moving their social lives almost completely to the internet.
Do you think that COVID has affected the amount of time people spend on social media?
Yeah, most definitely. Just because, especially people our age are, confined to their home or even their room, if they catch the virus or are quarantining, and there's only limited things you can do, and I'm sure the amount of screen time has gone up for everyone.
How do you feel social media has impacted the relationship between you and your friends?
I think it's definitely been a good thing. It helps me stay more connected with my friends, especially because of COVID and all. I can't really see them. It helps me stay more connected.
It has allowed me to stay in contact with friends I haven't seen over the quarantine or over the summer. Reaching out to them, even if it's like a week-to-week basis, just keeps our friendship alive.
I think social media, in itself, it's just a phenomenal idea. So I think the world is definitely better off that it does exist. So, yeah.
Social media, once considered just a fun and creative place to make friends and socialize, became the sign for a new form of community. A perfect example of this is the Lake Braddock SGA Instagram page, which is well known for its weekly tips to help keep students motivated and inspired while improving themselves and fighting the sense of isolation. In summary, social media has changed the way we communicate, express our creativity, and make our voices heard, overall improving our connectivity with others during the quarantine. Another way to look at it is that social media has helped us cope with the pandemic lifestyle, which over the past few months has become our new normal. It was only a couple of weeks ago that everything seemed like it was getting back on track. School boards were having meetings about reopening. States around the U.S. were slowly and cautiously lifting their restrictions. But suddenly, cases started to rise once again.
Health experts are warning of a second wave of COVID-19 infections as the winter months loom.
Members of our medical community say that they do believe we're on the cusp of a second surge. And
the second wave of the 1918 pandemic was more severe than the first, and I expect the second wave of the coronavirus to be more severe this time around.
Make no mistake, we are in the second surge. This is the highest daily rate we've seen in Chicago since the tail end of the pandemic's first wave back in May.
A CNN article, published on November 18th, reported that, quote, "At this rate, the coronavirus is killing at least one American every minute of the day." At least 1,707 new COVID-19 deaths were reported Tuesday. According to data from Johns Hopkins University, that's the highest daily death rate since May 14th. COVID-19 has forced us to rethink, re-strategize, and make irreversible modifications to the way we live our daily lives. Schools may partially reopen, restrictions may be lifted, but it's clear that our lives will never be the same. Empty tables, silent classrooms, dusty lockers, and locked doors will remain. No cheers, no laughter, only the wind whistling through the empty football field of the Bruins. No prom ball will be held in the ghostly gym this year. Neither homecoming will be hosted in the voiceless hallways. We will overcome this. We will adapt and learn to coexist with the virus. But a new strain will likely hit the world periodically, and America, education, fellowship in Lake Braddock will never be the same.
And now to your teacher and senior happy days. Thanks for tuning into our monthly show. Well, the news is over.
And our cups are empty. See you next time on The Morning Brew.